Yo, 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 yo. So I want to introduce you to the Taking Court with Coach O segment of 20 Pillar Lane. And this is a segment where I kind of talk about issues dealing with athletics and um, some of it is in jest and some of it is serious. Most of it is from my own experiences and a lot of it is opinionated. But today, in particular, I want to talk to you about a subject that um, really it's one that's important to a lot of people. It's one that's affecting a lot of kids, a lot of parents, and uh, that subject is parenting uh, a child in youth sports. And I'll touch on a gamut of different types of incidents. And in particular, what we're going to get into is when your child is involved in travel sports, whether it be travel volleyball, travel basketball, travel football, 7-on-17, things of that nature. I'm going to kind of probably focus a little bit more on travel basketball, as that's where my experience lies as far as being a parent and observing a lot of parent behavior. This, like I said, this is a segment on uh, taking court with Coach O. Is going to focus on parenting youth sports. So just to get into it real fast, I kind of came to this subject or felt the need to talk about this subject because it's a lot of y'all out there, or a lot of us out there, as parents who lose sight of the reason the kids play, and we'll touch on the other adults in within that realm as far as officiating and coaching. We'll touch on those in other segments, but today I want to specifically talk about parenting and what it looks like and what it should look like moving forward. Because to be honest with y'all, a lot of y'all, your thought process is unrealistic and uninformed, and the behavior I'm seeing out there um, is quite ass itching, if I must say so myself. Um, I'm seeing adults who are in youth sports where they should be modeling for youth, and if this is what we're modeling, the behavior we're modeling, I can understand why we have such a large percentage of athletes or young student athletes who get burned out or who exhibit behavior that's not conducive to greatness and to them playing in the future on a high level. Specifically, let's I guess get into the reason most parents uh, get their children involved in uh, sports. Number one, sports are designed to teach skills. Uh, Kids should learn a valuable set of skills. They learn relationship skills. Of course, they learn athletic skills, the life lessons. Um, Participating in youth sports can expose them to a lot of things, a lot of opportunities. Um, but that's generally the goal. Now, when we talk about youth sports, you're dealing with two kinds of areas or two general areas. You talk about recreational sports, and then you get into what we call travel sports. Recreationally, when you're dealing with recreational sports, that's your local YMCA, your local city leagues, and things of that nature. You're dealing with uh, sports leagues where there should be a lot of learning, the fundamentals of a game, the fundamentals of a sport, but not only the fundamentals of that sport, but the fundamentals of what it takes to be a good teammate, uh, character character traits of how you mold individual great characteristics of a teammate to create great team chemistry, how those singularities come together to be a conglomerate that is tight-knit and able to go out and work together with the same goals in mind. On a high level, um, you kind of share a vision for what you want to do with each one of those student athletes, each one of those parents, and find out what their goals are, and then show them how their goals can be achieved through your program, through your vision. That's what we get when we call getting somebody to buy into the system. You get somebody to buy into the system, they believe in the end goal, and they believe that their goals, their personal goals, can be met by coming together with everybody else to achieve a higher goal. And so that's how your chemistry is gained, because people believe in the overall goal, and they believe that in a selfish way, their needs can be met and their wants can be met by helping everybody succeed. In a general sense, that's what a successful team looks like. Usually, recreational teams have kids who are a little bit more skilled, or a little bit they bring a more talented base. That doesn't mean that a kid can't grow, but generally you can kind of see, okay, this kid is a little bit more athletic than this kid, and because people grow, or kids grow at different ages. They grow at different levels, and so this at the age of 8, this kid may be more coordinated than the next kid at this age, and so that may predispose them to be a little bit better in a particular sport. The coordination, hand-eye coordination, is more advanced, so they may fare better. Some kids are more athletic than others. So in a rec league sense, we're building that base, that fundamental base. This is what should be happening, that fundamental base, which means that although it's competitive, the ultimate goal is for the kids to grow and get better. And I'm watching parents who are making it more competitive than even the kids are. So moving from a recreational sense, you sometimes get kids who have more of an affinity toward a sport than they do others. I personally don't believe in specializing as an athlete. I don't believe that kids should focus on one sport for 12 months out of the year. I think the best athletes are those athletes who play multiple sports and get multiple experiences. You may have a kid who's an exceptional basketball player, but they play football and they may be just a role player. That aspect of things teaches you life lessons. It teaches you how to be a better teammate. When you're a role player in one sport, or you're not as good in one sport, and you have to work a little bit harder, then when you move to the next sport, you start to understand those other individuals who are not as good as you in that sport. You start to respect the process that it takes to make them better, which makes you have more empathy toward them, and makes you become a better teammate. Everything is about being a good teammate when you're playing a team sport, and I really, when we move into travel sports, it becomes a money game, even at the lowest levels. You got travel teams probably as young as 6, 7 years old. And when you talk about travel, it's having a chance to experience a more challenging level of play. Not necessarily an elite level, but a more challenging level. And it's just another opportunity for kids to play beyond the sometimes limited recreational season. We know recreation now. When I was growing up, recreation, we had 2 or 3 practices a week, game on the weekend. As far as football, basketball, you may play 2 games a week, but generally it was games on Saturdays and 2 or 3 practices a week. Now I think they may practice once a week and play 1 game, and so uh, it's really base information based material. Your travel sports, you start getting into more development, more skill development, more knowledge development of the game, as well as a higher level of play. Um, Now, even within the travel teams, there are basic travel teams, there are more advanced travel teams, and then we have what we call our elite travel teams. If many of you are participating in um, travel team tournaments, for example, basketball, I'll use probably that example the most of the time, but you'll notice that your teams are able to enter into probably 3 different levels of play as far as beginner programs, more advanced programs, and then that elite level of program as far as even within the different age groups. And so it's designed to kind of create a competitive balance to try to keep games competitive and make sure you don't have kids who are not able to compete with an elite group and just going out there getting discouraged. And so uh, within those levels of play, your child may follow. So it's important to understand that, and it's important to understand and be realistic at what level your child is when you're searching out a team and when you're searching out tournaments for your team. Um, as players get older, the best athletes kind of typically make the jump to more elite programs or what I like to see personally is teams stay together and grow as a unit. I like to see them grow through the different age groups and see how each one of those kids how their game grows, how their familiarity with their teammates grow. I just like to see that. I like to see. I don't like to see. I'm a more of a traditional. I don't like to see a lot of hopping back and forth to different teams, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. Uh, I think it breeds what we have now on the high level of college play, as far as the big transfer portal and things of that nature. But uh, when we talk about parents' involvement in youth sports, number one, travel sports is a big investment. You've got your team fees can vary from basic teams, $150 to almost $1,000 just in team fees. And then, you're talking about the travel, the back and forth to different tournaments out of town, even in town. And admission prices for different events have gone up to like $25 a day during a 3-day tournament. So 3-day tournament, just a basic mother and father going to see a child could potentially spend $150 just in admission fees. It's not including the money they've already paid to their particular team to participate, for that child to participate in the program. And if they're out of town, of course, hotel rooms and meals and things of that nature. And so we're also going to get into, we'll create a entirely different part when we talk about the price of travel as a team. But today I want to focus on parents and the type of parents that we see involved because, I go to the games as a coach, Uh, Someone who's coached for 20 years, been around coaching all my life, uh, been a parent, uh, and have two boys who are participating in high school athletics and travel ball. And uh, I just like to be a fan. You know, I don't like to coach. I have coached my son's AAU team, uh, and we won at a high level when I coached. Me and my me and our partner coached, and we been around the country, Chicago, Las Vegas. We won tournaments around the country and did well. But in particular, myself, I like to go to the game, sit down, watch my sons play, and be a fan. I don't want to critique them during the game. I'm always open if they bring me something after the game. They have a question about something. I'll of course discuss it, but I want to just be a fan. It's hard being a fan around some of the other people who supposed to be just fans in the stands that are parents. So let me tell you about the type of parents that I see. You got people who are like me, they just want to be a parent. They're probably the example of what you're looking for in a parent of a travel team athlete. They're gonna support the kid, they're gonna support the team, they're gonna encourage them. If a good play is made, they're gonna be enthusiastic. They're gonna make sure the child is at practices on time. They'll make sure the child at the game on time. Make sure they got all the uniforms that they supposed to have, and uh, they're gonna be happy to provide water, Gatorade when it's their time, all that type of stuff. They're gonna sit back and let the coach be the coach. As long as their child not being mistreated, they don't have any, comment on what the coaches are doing as far as schematically. Uh, they are gonna make sure that they stand behind the coach's decision, as long as those decisions are justified and fair. Um, they may not always agree with the decision. That we'll make sure we understand that. You standing by the decision doesn't mean you agree with it, but it means that you are empowering that coach to make that decision because that's the person who's supposed to make it. Now, what does that entail for you to be able to do that? You have to believe that that coach honestly has every child's best interest at heart. It's the same thing the player has to do in order to believe in the coach. When you believe that they really care about me, they really care about my child, and they're doing what they think is the best for the child as well as the team, it's much more easy for you to follow along the decisions of the coach and most importantly, respect the decision of the coach and respect the coach's right to make that decision. Um, Not going to try to interfere with what the coach says. Uh, for example, if your coach says the team need to pass 5 times before they shoot it, you ain't gonna be out there saying, "I don't understand why they got to pass 5 times. They were just opening." Coach say pass 5 times before they shoot. So you do what your coach say do. Now, at the point to where you feel like you don't like that philosophy or you don't like the way the program is being run, at that point, you can have a meeting to discuss what issues you may have. And I'm just be honest with you, generally, unless it revolves around mistreatment or disrespect, schematically, you're not there to change what the coach is doing. If you don't believe in what their philosophy is and what they're doing, that's when it's time for you to find another program. Not to try to take over nobody else's program. But these are the parents who are going to volunteer and assist when needed. Uh, and they want the entire team, every kid on that team, to be successful. They want every kid on their team to grow. What does success look like? I always tell people this. I see a lot of people on social media who, when their teams go play, they are really, really high on broadcasting that their team won the tournament, that their team won games, this and that. And it's great. Anybody who knows me knows I want to win. But let's go back to what the goal of travel sports is. For that, each one of those student athletes or each one of those kids to grow as a player. So within you winning those tournaments, is your kid growing as a player? Are they becoming a better student of the game? Are their skills being sharpened because they're being taught what to do, why they're doing it, and when to do it? And those skills are being, again, sharpened against better competition? Or do you have a much more athletic team or a bigger team or a more skilled team, and you're playing a low-level team, and those are teams that you're beating? All these things have to be considered when you talk about winning, and whether it's valuable winning or whether you're just out there collecting trophies. Because that's not what it should be about. That's not what your travel team program should be highlighting. Because when you talk about travel team, most of the people, I'm gonna say 95%, and that's just me, no research, that's just me coming off the top of my head, thinking about the parents that I know that are involved in travel sports and what their goals are, especially the money they put in. Most of those people have a goal of their child playing at a high level in college, and some even, professionally. So they're looking for a return on investment. There are some, a very few, who their child just like the sport. That's what they want to do. So they put money to it for their child like sport. Hey, he or she get a scholarship, cool, but that ain't what we're here for. Very few and far between. So that was the kind of parent who was kind of exemplary, the one who, every coach wishes they had. And you got those parents who are really competitive. Um, some people are just naturally competitive. They don't compete with anything. Um, they want to come out on top. They want to win, no matter what the situation is. A lot of them are former athletes, um, and that's good if channeled correctly. But it can also become negatively affect their child, other players, and also other parents. Um, those are the type of people that when you play in tournaments, or a kid come back from tournament, they want to know, did you win? They don't want to know if you got better. They're not concerned about that. All they're concerned about the win. They don't care if everybody played or got quality minutes so that they can develop. They don't care if you had fun. They don't care about your experience. And my son will always tell you that the last thing that I tell them before every game is make sure you have fun. The goal is to have fun. That's the reason why anybody started playing, or should be the reason why anybody started playing. It was fun. They do it because they have fun. When it becomes a business, we got a problem. When it becomes your child thinking they have to be the savior for your family, got a problem. Um, these people kind of start navigating into win at all costs. And these people will allow their older sons and daughters to compete on younger teams. Uh, I can't even get into in this podcast the whole thing about kids dropping down in age and or reclassifying that whole thing. That's a whole nother part. We get into that later. Um, but these very competitive parents, they get frustrated, and when their child is not winning, or they get frustrated with other kids on the team. Um, they feel like their child not trying hard. These are people who they analyze every aspect of what the child is doing, and they always comment on. Uh, and there's a lane for that to be okay, but it shouldn't be all the time. It shouldn't be constantly negative. Um, These are the type of parents who want to talk to the coach about things they think the coach is doing wrong, or what they feel like we should be need to do to win. Um, it's just that competitive parent. You got them parents that's like whatever. They don't care whether the kid like the sport. Uh, they don't. They just want the kid to go out there and play. Sometimes it's so the kid can get out the house. Sometimes it's so the kid can get in shape. Um, but and then they're the type that if there's a practice or a game that conflicts with something that they want to do or something else that's going on, they don't care. They ain't going to the practice game. They're not taking the kid to the practice game. Uh, Win or lose, they don't care. Uh, they don't support the kid. They don't criticize the kid. They'll take the kid to practice, drop them off, pick them up when they're supposed to. Uh, and sometimes they late. Well, these are the parents that the coach has to wait on to pick up the child because they got out at 4 and the parent coming at 5:30. They don't really have nothing to say to the coach or the other parents during practice or games. They kind of off to themselves. They're not at team activities. They're not going to be at the season part. They're not going to participate in fundraisers. They'll come to the game sometime when it's convenient to them, and they don't care what their child status on the team. They don't care if they're a superstar or if the younger or the least developed player. Um, and we all know the next type of parent, the type of parent that I was an athlete, but I'm kind of living through my child and what they do. Um, they see the potential that the child has, and it's kind of hard for them to not push boundaries. And of course, sometimes they weren't as successful as an athlete, but they think the child is on the cusp. So, they start living through their child. And these can sometimes be the parents that hop from team to team. Their child hop from team to team. They want the child to be better than everybody on the team. Once the child is the best, or they think is the best, or this team isn't good, then they want to go to a more competitive team. Um, but a lot of times, these are the kids who get burned out because the parents are much more competitive than the kids, and they push them to lose the passion for the sport. Uh, they always the parent is always telling the kid, back when I played, we used to do such and such, or I used to do this. Um, they if their child, well, they can be critical of like they talk about coaching, talk about the things the coach do. Um, they want the child to learn the same way that they did. It just really become a burden on the child. They can become unbearable at times. Uh, and we all know that parent who's kind of outspoken, uh, kid who, I mean, a parent who they can be your best friend, but they can also be kind of like your enemy. They're not afraid to speak their mind, which is good. It's good to not be afraid to speak your mind. I always say when you speak, you should be making informed decisions. You should be speaking from an informed point of view. And sometimes that outspoken parent is not speaking from an informed point of view. Sometimes they think they are informed, but they're not. Uh, they don't have a problem embarrassing or calling out a child, not only their child, but another child. As the parent in the stand that want to coach everybody, uh, talking the whole game, and they don't mind saying something about somebody else's child. It could be very interesting when things like that occur. Uh, if they don't agree with something you're doing, they don't have no problem telling you. They don't have no problem hollering it out during the game. Uh, and regardless of the situation, uh, when the coach get onto their child, the coach is going to be wrong. They're going to find a reason for their child to be right in every situation. Um, you know, outspoken type person. Um, and sometimes they can delve into the next type of person or the next type of parent. The next type of parent is the parent who think they're the coach. Sometimes they may have been a coach. Um, and if they have been a coach and they share the same type of philosophy that you have, coaching philosophy, and the same type of practice or drills that you do, they can be, supportive. But then you got people who uh, they weren't taught this way, so they don't believe in this way, or they believe it should be done another way, and so they start challenging you. They start challenging the coach rather. Uh, they sometimes try to create a bandwagon approach from the other parents. They'll go behind the coach's back and talk to the other parents about what they feel like we should be doing and try to drum up support in that regard. Uh, they don't have a problem talking to the parents that will listen to them and telling them why we lost this game, or why this situation came out the way it did. And they don't have any problem trying to coach their kids from the sidelines. Uh, and that coach, or that parent kind of becomes a critic. Uh, and, get a critic, they never happy. Nothing that you can do makes them happy. They criticize everybody. They criticize the coach, they criticize other players, and uh, it just creates a negative atmosphere. And then the last type of parent you got is those who think their child is a superstar. Um, it may they may talk about child need more playing time. Uh, they may talk about child needing to shoot more. Uh, just different opportunities that they feel like the child should have that they're not getting. They're in you know the biggest problem that, uh, or one of the biggest problems that parents have when dealing with their child is you teach your child to be a good student athlete, a good teammate, or you teach them to be a bad student athlete and a bad teammate. You can solely, as a parent, destroy the chemistry of a team. Let me say that again. You can solely, as a parent, destroy the chemistry of a team. The conversation, it's been more teams destroyed, more players, careers destroyed by conversations at the dinner table and in the car on the way home than probably anything else. Those simple conversations where you say something contrary to what the coach is saying, you talk about what other players on the team can't do, what you feel like they don't do well, why you feel like your child should be playing more than them. You're planting seeds in your child's head. You're planting seeds that will grow into a very, very, very bad team. And you solely can do that as a parent. This parent thing at these different events, I'm gonna tell you, I just talked to you about all those types of different parents that you have. Well, I always say people when pressure, we all heard the term pressure makes diamonds or pressure busts pipes. And so spending money for some people is pressure, especially when you don't have a whole lot of it. When you don't have a whole lot of disposable income, what you choose to put your disposable income in, you become very passionate. The thing that every parent in the world does not play about is their child. So you got two different levels of passion that create, I don't even know if this is a word, but create magnanimous pressure for a parent. And sometimes that pressure causes that parent to reveal aspects of their character that are not very endearing. I see parents at travel basketball events who, the whole game they hollering at the referees the entire game, and those parents who hollering out stuff that has no earthly, really no business being said, or you could tell they don't know the game just by stuff that they hollering out. They're not encouraging the kids; they're just hollering. And then you got those parents who, I see more parents arguing about physical play and all this type of stuff than they do cheering for the kids. And at the end of the day, I think the genesis of it is we lose sight of what we're there for because it becomes big money. It becomes a race or a fight to a college scholarship when a lot of you are making your children non-recruitable athletes. You think as a college coach, I'm not sitting there listening and watching you act the fool. And what I'm trying to do is figure out whose child is yours so I can scratch them off my recruiting list. Because you think I'm going to deal with how you dealing with your own coach and the referee, plus you embarrassing your child. You are embarrassing your child. We see you. We hear you. Your child see you and hear you, and they can't concentrate on the game because they being distracted by how you acting and embarrassing. When you talk about the officiating, in a general sense, especially at a travel basketball tournament, in a general sense, I don't believe any official goes into a game to cheat kids. I just have to believe it. I believe there are some officials who are newer. Uh, many of you don't know that some of the officials at some of these tournaments are working for free. Not all of them. Most of them are getting paid, but some of them are working for free. Some of them use it for a clinic. There are certain officiating associations uh, that do high school games, do uh, scholastic games. Who they have to have a certain number of clinic hours during the year, and so they use the summer to not only get new officials, but use those summer travel games to have clinics where they're actually learning to be a referee or an official or and some of them sharpen their skills, and then most of them are getting money. They are regular officials. But do you think the official in Atlanta has in particular interest in who wins a game with a team from Minnesota and a team from Indiana playing? So why we cheating? Or why do you think you're cheating? Now you got some officials who let games get out of hand because of their inexperience, and they need to be addressed. But there's a way to address anything. That's what the coach is for. And it's a way for him to address it. That's a whole nother part, coach behavior and coach etiquette. That's a whole nother part. We'll get to that. But you got to conduct yourself in a manner, if your end goal is for your child to be able to play on the next level, you got to be a recruitable parent. And not a lot of people understand that. In this day and age, when they get down to kids' ability, all the details matter. We got two kids with equal ability. Some of those details gonna matter. This one pairing the food. This one might not be as talented, but I ain't got to deal with the excess. I ain't got to deal with the extra. That's an easy decision for me. So it's important for us to conduct ourselves uh, as parents as we should. And some of y'all get into some dangerous areas. You should have nothing to say about nobody else's child. Please remember, while you in the stands, talking, while you in the stand commentating, when you talking about the other team or even kids on your team, you talking about somebody else's child, and they feel like their child how you feel about yours. And ain't nobody finna sit there and let you talk about their child in a negative light. That's very important, because I'm watching videos where some of y'all getting your ass slung around the gym because you done said something about somebody's child and they done heard you and they done put them thunder cookers on. And buddy, I just sit back. And watch, because, some of y'all, I'm just be honest with you. You may not think so, but your kids out there playing for cardio. They're really playing for cardio. Your expectations are unrealistic. I think you guys should understand that just at the one tournament you at, you got thousands of players in different age groups. But for example, both of my sons are in 10th grade now. So, I tell them, you're not just competing with 2023 kids. You competing with the kids 2 and 3 years younger than you, and the kids 2 and 3 years older than you. Because depending on your career trajectory, you're going to be playing with all those kids. When you go to college, you're going to be a freshman, and you're going to be playing with kids who came out at minimum 3 years, 4 years before you did. And you're gonna be freshmen, they're gonna be seniors. When you're a senior, you're gonna be playing with kids who freshmen who came out 3 or 4 years after you. And that's not even including if you red shirted this and that. You look at let's look at the kids who gonna be playing football this year, or well, really any athletics in the fall. Uh, Kids who were seniors this past year didn't have that year count against them. So a lot of them are coming back in the fall. Well, some of those kids who were seniors this past year were fifth year seniors. Some who may have had a medical issue may have been 6 year seniors. And they coming back in the fall. So your kid who's playing as a freshman this year in the fall could be potentially playing with somebody who came out 5 and 6 years before they left high school. So what does that look like? That look like your sixth grade son playing against a varsity team with 12th graders on there. Yeah, that's what it look like. Your sixth grade son playing against varsity. That's why I I don't agree with it, but I never complain about when a kid is a year older and he playing with kids as a young. I think it hurts him, the older kid, but I don't complain because I gotta tell my son, when you get in high school, you'll be playing with kids 2 and 3 years older than you. You get in college, especially Division II, Division III, you play against some boy 25, 26 years old, and you're an 18-year-old freshman. That's how it goes. So that's why it's important. If you're gonna be a player, be a player. Don't as a parent, don't get so caught up in stuff like that. And I could go long, but we got some more segments of taking court or talking. Yeah, taking court with Coach. So we got some more segments coming up. But I just want to tell you, as a parent, be realistic and understand what the original goal is for your son participating in travel athletics. And be a fan, man. Support the kids, support the program. And if that program if the philosophy doesn't match what you're doing or what your goals are, what you believe in, or what you believe or your child's growth in that aspect, find you another program. Every program don't have the same goals. So make sure you understand what the goals are before you join a program, before you put your child's growth in the hands of somebody else. Myself, I don't get so caught up in a whole lot of stuff like that because I'm going to teach my kids. So I ain't got to be at every practice because we do individual sessions where I teach them and go over stuff. But even me, if I don't like bad basketball, and I'll be quite honest with you now, I'm in a situation where I got to make some decisions on future playing opportunities. Is when you're in a situation where you're not really set on what's going on in the program, travel wise, then you may need, to take another look. But understand this, as a collegiate coach, I'm aware of you was on this team last year, you're on this team this year. Why? And I know the different levels of those teams. So I know if it's a situation where he just want to play on the team that's more elite. His skills, he need to be playing on this team. Or if you got a history of you don't get what you want, so you move to another program. College coaches know that. Those type players become players who enter the transfer portal every year. You got some kids that's in the transfer portal now who have transferred 3 or 4 times in college. That is ridiculous. I don't care what the reasons are. That's ridiculous. You couldn't find a fit 3 or 4 times. That may say something about you. I'm just being honest with you. But again, we'll get into transfer portal and that whole scenario a little bit later. But parents, we got to do better. I can't be watching these videos of y'all fighting all on the court, folk in there whooped in the parking lot. I mean, we got parents shooting coaches in the parking lot because they didn't agree with how the child played. So you mad about how your child was used, so you're gonna go shoot somebody, potentially kill them, take a life, but then you can't see your child play no ball no more for the rest of your life. Come on, man. Y'all ain't thinking, man. Come on now. And you arguing with folk on social media back and forth about some kids stuff, about some games the kids play. I see people arguing who in programs, you arguing with another program over who the best program. Really? Really? We adults arguing over kids. And some of you, it's so, like, I wouldn't even, I see this all the time. I see a whole lot of time kids who are, when they're 9 and 10 years old, they much bigger than the other kids and they able to excel and people think they're great, but they're not developing skills. They're not developing skills. They just use their size and athletic ability to overwhelm people or overwhelm other kids. Then you look 2 and 3 years later, that kid hadn't grown. So they was a big man or a center because they was the biggest on the team at this level, but they hadn't grown, didn't work on those skills. And now the other kids are the same size or taller, but they had to work on skills when they were smaller and they just outgrow a kid, or a kid becomes stagnant because they didn't work on fundamentals and skill, and coaches and parents use them for their size and they hadn't gotten better. And so you look up 2, 3, 4 years later, the other kids pass by them, and now they trying to learn fundamentals that these other kids have learned already. So they're a step behind. And for God's sake, I can't get into it here, but another topic I'm gonna discuss is being a student of the game and being in a program where somebody is actually teaching your child the game, how to play the game, the mental aspect of the game. Because I'm telling you, people say that's half the battle. It's more than half the battle. It's more than half the battle. But, I just really wanted to touch on these parents today. Because, a lot of you parents, like I say, you get all into all type of douchebaggery and ass-itching behavior, and is really bad. And then some of you parents who you think because you become the team mom or the treasurer and this and that, that means your child's supposed to play more. And bro, look, I'm telling you, it's just not good. It's just not good. Uh, I don't want to be long-winded. I probably talked long enough. Just wanted to touch on parent behavior and the douchebaggery of it all, you know. But another segment of Taking Court coming up. Looking forward to talking to you. 20 Pillar Lane podcast. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you share it. Follow me on social media, Instagram, Coach JJ Oliver, Twitter, Coach JJ Oliver, Facebook, JJ Oliver. If you got any questions or if you want to got a topic that you want me to discuss dealing with athletics, shoot it to me at the email, 20pillowlane@gmail.com, 20pillowlane@gmail.com. I'll be sure to read those. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. And yeah, we out. Make sure you go through life with an expectation of excellence. Peace. Have a good day.